Hi, welcome to Start to Finish Sunday. Today we're going to make this little Halloween pocket card. You can see there's a tag on the inside that slides in and out of the pocket. This past Friday, August 18th, was Black Cat Appreciation Day, and I just so happened to have two black cats, so I thought it would be really fun to use this adorable little Halloween cat stamp for today's project. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is create the pocket. So I'm starting with a piece of basic gray cardstock, and this measures 4 1/4 by 11. I'm going to score it at 5 1/2, just as we would for if we were making a normal standard size card. And then I'm also going to go over here and I'm going to score it at 1 1/2. And now I'm actually going to take this over to my trimmer and I'm going to cut about 3/4 off of this end. So now you can see that this score line over here is smaller. It is now 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to go ahead and fold on my score lines. I'm going to fold the first score line just as if we were making a standard size card, and now this flap I'm going to fold the opposite way on the score line. Grab my bone folder and just make sure that those are nice, clean, crisp folds. Okay, and there you can kind of see how our pocket is coming together. To attach the pocket, I am using score tape. You could use sticky strip or whatever you have on hand, but I like to use a really strong adhesive. And I am just going to, let's see, I'm going to put this as close as I can to the edge, and notice I'm doing this on the shorter flap. I'm just putting it really close to the edge so that our tag will be able to slide in and out easily. Okay, but I'm not going to seal up my pocket yet, because if I bring back my original, you can see that there's this black border underneath. So I want to do that first. I have a little strip of basic black cardstock, and I'm just going to punch this using the dotted scallop ribbon border punch. And I'm just going to flip over the base of my pocket and put some adhesive at the very top here. And now I'll just go ahead and line up my border. Stick that down. You see that? And then I'll just go in and trim off the edges, the extra here. And now before I stick this flap down, I want to put my designer paper onto this panel here. So I'm still doing all this before I put my pocket together. I am using this designer paper. It is from the Howl's Tooth and Scaring Bone designer series paper collection. I just want to show you this really quick. This is a little swatch book that I make with all my designer paper. And I love this paper because it is Halloween appropriate, but it also, to me, is very fashion forward. It's not strictly Halloween. There aren't little icons or, you know, ghosts or goblins or anything like that. I love the colors, and it's just very chic to me. This one is my favorite right here. Doesn't that look like the inside of a Burberry raincoat? So I've got my thinking cap on with, you know, different ways that I can use this other than for Halloween cards. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this paper. This measures, let me see, 3 3/4 by 4, and I'm just going to line this up so that there's an equal border on the left, right, and bottom of this panel here. And now I can go ahead and add a little bit more adhesive to the flap and stick that down. And now I'll peel the backing off of my tape. And all I have to do is just carefully close the card. Okay, and there we have the base of our pocket. So let's go ahead and finish embellishing it. I have a little piece of very vanilla cardstock, and this measures 2.5 by 2 3/4. And I've got my Halloween cat stamp, and I am going to use my Stamp-A-Majig on this because I cut the paper actually even smaller than the size of the block, so I have kind of a hard time lining things up. I'm using Black Stays On ink today because I want a nice dark black crisp image. So I've got that lined up. I'll put my tool in place. And this stamp also I like to turn over on its back and ink up this way. Make sure I get it really, really well inked up. Then I can go ahead and remove my imaging sheet, put my stamp in the corner of the Stamp-A-Majig tool and stamp straight down. Give that a good press. And lift straight up. Now I'm going to mount this onto a piece of Tangerine Tango, and that cardstock measures 2 3/4 by 3. So it's going to give me an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Just center that. And I can go ahead and stick this onto the front of my pocket. I'm using Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay, and I'll just align that on the pattern paper. Just like that. So now I want to go ahead and embellish this cute little cat just a little bit more. I have a scrap of more mustard and this little flower punch. This is from the, I believe it's called the Itty Bitty Punch Pack, and I'm just going to punch out that flower. And then I'll take a little piece of linen thread, and I'm just going to tie this in a bow. And once I get the bow right where I want it to be, I'm just going to take a little bit of my Tombow Mono Multi Glue and just put a tiny little dot right on the cat's neck. And then I'll set the bow into that dot of glue. Like that. And then I'm just going to kind of bend the flower up a little bit just to give it a little bit of dimension. Put a little bit of glue on the back of the flower. And press that over top of the bow. And that's going to take a little bit of time to dry, so I'm going to set this aside and we're going to work on the tag that's going to go inside our pocket. The tag is super simple. I have a piece of more mustard that measures 3.5 by 5 and a piece of very vanilla that measures 3.25 by 4 3/4. And all I'm going to do is just adhere this centered onto the more mustard. I'm taking a handheld hole punch here. This is just a hole punch from the office supply store, and I'm just going to center and punch a hole. And now I've got these two pieces of linen thread together, and I'm going to double them up. Put it through the hole. and put the ends through the loop. Okay, just like that. And then I can go ahead and trim the ends with my linen thread. And there we have the insert for our pocket card all ready to go. So I'll bring my pocket back in, and I just want to very carefully trim the ends of this bow. Okay, and then I'm gonna take a little rhinestone here and just put that in the very center of the flower. Just like that. And then we can just put the tag inside the pocket. Sometimes you kind of have to work it open a little bit. Just like that. There. And there you have a super simple, super cute Halloween pocket card. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you will join me again next week for another Start to Finish Sunday. Have a great week. Happy stampin'. Bye-bye.